Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you. Everywhere I go across the country, people tell me how my programs about the brain have changed their lives. I was recently walking near my home when I saw a couple running toward me. The wife recognized me and said, "Hey, you're the brain doctor. We're out here running because of you." My husband wouldn't listen to me, but he listens to you. I also met a flight attendant who told me that she lost 30 pounds since she started watching my shows because she completely changed her diet and was getting her husband and her children to walk with her. But my favorite story is of the 87-year-old woman who told me she started dating again after she watched my shows because she realized that being alone was not good for her brain. With a cute little smile, she told me that she had recently met a wonderful 80-year-old man online, and they were having the time of their lives. I wondered if that qualified her as being a grandmother cougar. Today, I'm going to share with you information from my new book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Body, and give you 10 very simple steps that will help you live longer, look younger, be thinner, and decrease your risk for Alzheimer's disease, depression, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. For example, did you know that taking fish oil every day combined with moderate exercise, like walking 45 minutes 3 times a week, was associated with significant weight loss? But that taking fish oil without exercise or exercising without taking fish oil did not result in any weight loss? Or did you know that having a low level of vitamin D interferes with the hormone in your brain that tells you when you are full, which means that no matter how much you eat, you still feel hungry? How many of you have ever tried to lose weight more than just a few times? Yeah. Me too. Don't you just hate that? How many of you have lost weight just to gain it all back and more whenever you stop watching everything you eat? That used to be me. Based on our brain imaging work at the Amen Clinics with tens of thousands of patients from 75 different countries over the last 20 years, we've discovered 2 of the major secrets why most diets don't work. And contrary to what you might think, they have nothing to do with your lack of desire to lose weight or your willpower. In fact, as we will see, for some people, the harder they try to lose weight, the worse it gets. The first secret is that most weight problems occur between your ears. So stapling your stomach may in fact be working on the wrong organ. It is your brain that pushes you away from the table, telling you that you've had enough, or it is your brain that gives you permission to have that second bowl of ice cream, making you look and feel like a blob. If you want a better body, the first place to always start is by having a better brain. The second secret is that there is not one brain pattern associated with being overweight. There are at least 5 different patterns. And knowing about your own specific brain will make losing weight and keeping it off a whole lot easier. I will talk about each of these 5 types throughout the show. In my new book, I show you how to use your brain to enhance the health of your heart, your skin, your energy, sleep, sexual function, memory, and weight. I decided to focus this program specifically on weight, however, because 2/3 of Americans are now overweight, and the incidence of obesity in our children is skyrocketing, increasing more than 800% since 1982. We are in the middle of a growing national crisis. Being overweight increases your risk for depression, suicide in teenagers, Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Plus, researchers have found that over time, as your weight goes up, the actual physical size of your brain goes down. And when it comes to the brain, size matters. I'm also doing this show for personal reasons. I come from a family of wonderful cooks, candy makers, and overweight people. Many of the people in my family have died early from high cholesterol and heart disease. Out of 5 brothers, my father is the only one left. My genes say I'm supposed to be fat, and I've battled cravings and my weight my whole adult life, carrying an extra 20 or 30 pounds that I did not want. I had only tried about 100 times to lose the weight, but could never overcome the cravings or get the discipline until I used this whole program. Let me be clear. This is not another diet to lose a few pounds. This is a plan to get control of your brain and your body for the rest of your life. You'll definitely lose the weight you want on this plan, but you'll do it consistently, intelligently, and my favorite part, without cravings. This information is also for people who are normal or even underweight. You can look great on the outside, but be a total mess on the inside. Okay, let's get started. Step number 1, boost your brain to lose your belly. At the Amen Clinics, we use a sophisticated brain imaging study called SPECT to help us understand and treat our patients. Plus, we use natural treatments whenever possible. This is a brain SPECT scan. SPECT measures blood flow and activity patterns. It looks at how the brain works. The top is the front part of the brain, the bottom is the back. This is a scan of a healthy person. It shows full, even, symmetrical activity. After looking at more than 55,000 scans, it's very clear to me that with a healthy brain, you are happier, more thoughtful, and you just make better decisions. When your brain is not healthy, for whatever reason, such as you have ADD, or you had a brain injury, or you drink too much, you are sadder, more impulsive, and you make many more bad decisions. And for most of us, unless we're really focused on brain health, it is a downhill spiral. Our research clearly demonstrates that over time, your brain becomes less and less and less active with age. I hate that. But if you work to keep your brain healthy, you can slow or even reverse the aging process. Here are 3 examples of 60-year-old brains. One with Alzheimer's disease, one who was overweight and had sleep apnea, which is a disaster for brain function, and one who worked hard to maintain her brain. Which brain do you want? Which brain will make the best decisions? Which brain will have the best memory and the most energy? I'm currently in the middle of performing the world's largest brain imaging study on retired NFL players. Playing professional football is definitely not good for your brain. And more than half of our players are obese and show evidence of cognitive impairment when they first come to see us. But the exciting news is that we've been able to show that many of our players can get significantly better and lose weight when we put them on our program. Here is an example of one of our players' scans before and after treatment. His attention, memory, and his weight were better as well. In the book, I give you many ways to optimize your brain, including a long section on how to boost your brain's reserve, which is absolutely critical to deal with any stressful times that you might have. Step number 2, know your motivation. In order for you to consistently make the right decisions, you must have a burning desire to be healthy. Why do you care? For me, I have an amazing wife, 4 wonderful children, and a new grandson, Elias. My grandfather was one of the most important people in my whole life. I was named after him. And he was my best friend growing up. I know how important grandparents can be. The day Elias was born, I thought about my grandfather all day long. I want to be healthy, to be able to love Elias like my grandfather loved me. When I really think about what's important to me, no amount of cheeseburgers, sodas, or double fudge chocolate chip brownies is worth the price of damaging my health and stealing the time I have with my family. You have to focus on your motivation or food will control you. Brain imaging studies have shown that many foods that are filled with fat, sugar, and salt actually work on the morphine or heroin centers of our brain, and they can be totally addictive. Many of my overweight patients act just like addicts and spend their days either thinking about food, trying not to think about food, or eating. Many food companies are highly skilled in giving you that momentary burst of pleasure, but it is an illusion. And if you're not careful, you will get hooked. Bet you can't eat just one. So what motivates you? Is it health or is it fear? Some people, me included, require fear. I finally lost the extra 25 pounds because I kept reading studies like the one from the University of Pittsburgh where researchers found that the brains of overweight people looked 8 to 16 years older than the brains of healthy people. Given that your brain controls everything you do, including how much love you have in your life and how much money you make, you do not want a smaller brain. The fat on your body is not just a storage place for excess calories, it promotes inflammation, which can lead to heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and diabetes. And fat stores toxic materials which can directly damage your brain. But the exciting news is that if you work to keep your brain healthy, you can reverse the brain damage. But the sooner the better. So what is your specific motivation to get healthy? Write it down and put it where you can see it every day. Be positive. I want to live long, have great energy, look great, be smart. If your motivation is like mine and it involves the people you love, put up their pictures where you can see them every day. This is my screensaver. Focus on the reasons why you must be healthy every day, or the donuts will always win. And donuts don't make you sexy. Research suggests that getting a sugar burst can lower your testosterone levels by up to 25% for men or for women, which decreases your interest in sex. Oh, great! This means that sharing the cheesecake at the restaurant may mean that no one will get dessert when you get home. Step number 3, know your brain type. When I first started to do our brain imaging work at the Amen Clinics in 1991, I was looking for the one pattern that was associated with depression, ADD, or bipolar disorder. But as I soon discovered, there was clearly not one pattern associated with any of these illnesses. They all had multiple types. Of course, I then realized there will never be just one pattern for depression because not all depressed people are the same. Some are withdrawn, others are angry, still others are anxious or obsessive. The scans help me understand the type of depression or ADD or bipolar disorder a person had so that I could better target their treatment. This one idea led to a dramatic breakthrough in my own personal effectiveness with patients, and it opened up a whole new world of understanding and hope for the tens of thousands of people who have come to the Amen Clinics and the millions of people who have read my books. As we looked at the brains of our overweight patients, we discovered that, again, there was not one brain pattern associated with being overweight. There were at least 5. We saw patterns associated with brains that tended to be compulsive, Some were impulsive. Others were sad. Still others were anxious in various combinations. This is exactly the reason why most diets don't work. They take a one-size-fits-all approach, which from our brain imaging work makes absolutely no sense at all. I will describe the first two types here, and then after a short break, I'll tell you about the other three. There is much more information, including a detailed self-test, in the program materials. And as we will see, most people will never need a brain scan to know their type. Brain type 1 is the compulsive overeater. People with this type tend to get stuck on the thought of food and feel compulsively driven to eat. They often say that they have no control over food and tend to be nighttime eaters because they worry and have trouble sleeping. Here are two SPECT scans. This view shows us areas of the brain that work too hard. Blue is average activity, and red shows us the most active parts of the brain. The healthy scan on the left shows that most of the high activity is in the back part of the brain. Compulsive overeaters generally have too much activity in the front part of their brains, usually due to low levels of a chemical called serotonin. So they overfocus and can get stuck on the same thought, such as the ice cream in the freezer that is calling your name. Amy is an ICU nurse who fit this type perfectly. She felt as though she couldn't stop herself from eating and thought about food constantly throughout the day. She described her thoughts like a little mouse on an exercise wheel, and the mouse couldn't get off. Caffeine and diet pills made Amy anxious because her brain did not need more stimulation, and she often felt as though she needed a glass of wine at night, or 2 or 3, to calm her worries. No diet would work for Amy long term until we calmed her brain. Compulsive overeaters like Amy, who lost 45 pounds with the strategies I'm going to give you, do best when we find natural ways to increase serotonin. Serotonin is calming to the brain. Physical exercise boosts serotonin, as does using supplements such as 5-HTP and St. John's wort. 5-HTP actually has very good scientific evidence that it can be helpful for weight loss, and in my experience, I've found it to be especially helpful for this type. One other secret: stop the nighttime eating after dinner. New research suggests that people who eat late at night tend to gain even more weight than people who eat the same number of calories during the day. I know many people who say that the only time they feel hungry is at night, but that is usually because they have a lot of bad brain habits, like skipping breakfast or going too long between meals. Brain type 2 is the impulsive overeater. People with this type have poor impulse control. They get easily distracted and just reach for food without thinking. One of my best friends is a perfect example of this type. He is on a diet every single day of his life. He wakes up every morning committed to the idea of eating right. He maintains that thought as he passes the first donut shop. He starts to sweat as he passes the second donut shop. And by the third one, he has no willpower left. After completely giving up on his plans by noon, he utters the famous words of all impulsive overeaters: "I'll start my diet tomorrow." His scan showed low activity in the front part of his brain in an area called the prefrontal cortex. Think of the prefrontal cortex like the brain's brake. It stops us from saying stupid things or making bad decisions. It is the little voice in your head that helps you decide between the banana and the banana split. Impulsive overeating is common among people who have ADD or attention deficit disorder, which has been associated with low dopamine levels in the brain. People with ADD struggle with short attention span, distractibility, disorganization, and impulsivity. Research suggests that having untreated ADD nearly doubles your risk for being overweight. And without proper treatment, it is nearly impossible for these people to be consistent with any nutrition plan. My research team and I have published several studies showing that when people with ADD try to concentrate, they actually get less activity in their prefrontal cortex, which causes them to have even less control over their own behavior. For these people, literally, the harder they try, the worse it gets. Overweight smokers and heavy coffee drinkers also tend to fit this type. We help impulsive overeaters by boosting dopamine levels in the brain and strengthening the prefrontal cortex. Higher protein, lower carbohydrate diets tend to help this type, as does exercise and certain stimulating medications or supplements such as green tea or L-tyrosine. Any supplement or medicine that calms the brain, such as 5-HTP, typically makes this type worse because it can lower both your worries and your impulse control, giving new meaning to the term fat and happy. Knowing your individual brain type is critical to getting the right help. In the next segment, I will go over the other 3 brain types that are associated with being overweight and share with you some exciting new research on ways to eliminate your cravings. It is your support of public television that makes this show possible. Please support this station. Don't go to the fridge. I'll be right back. Welcome back. In the last segment, I told you about the first 2 brain types associated with being overweight. In this segment, I'll tell you about the other 3 types and give you 3 more of the 10 essential steps to change your brain and change your body. If you remember, brain type 1 is the compulsive overeater who constantly thinks about food. Brain type 2 is the impulsive overeater who eats without thinking. Brain type 3 is a combination of types 1 and types 2 and is called the impulsive compulsive overeater. On the surface, it seems almost contradictory. How can you be both impulsive and compulsive at the same time? Think of compulsive gamblers. These are people who are compulsively driven to gamble and yet have very little control over their impulses. It is the same with these overeaters. Our scans tend to show too much activity in the attention region of the brain, so people overthink and can get stuck on negative thoughts, but they also have too little activity in the prefrontal cortex, so they have trouble supervising their own behavior. Sherry had bulimia as a teenager, and still at age 52, struggled with binging and purging whenever she was stressed. She was chronically 30 pounds overweight and hated how she looked. She vacillated between being obsessive about her housework to being overwhelmed and disorganized. Many people in her family struggled with alcohol and other addictions, which is very common in this type. Sherry had tried a number of diets without any success until the fen-phen craze of the 90s. Remember fen-phen? It was a combination of medications that increased both serotonin and dopamine. She did really well on it, losing 30 pounds, and felt more emotionally stable than at any time in her life. When fen-phen was pulled from the market because it caused medical problems, Sherry relapsed and went back on her emotional and weight roller coaster. Without a balanced brain, she could not balance her weight. Finally, Sherry came to see us for help. People with this type benefit from treatments that increase both serotonin and dopamine, such as exercise and a combination of supplements like 5-HTP and green tea. For Sherry, this combination gave her the extra boost she needed to again feel emotionally stable and to lose the extra 30 pounds. Giving her 5-HTP or green tea alone would have made her worse. Brain type 4 is the sad overeater. People with this type overeat to medicate their feeling of sadness and to calm the emotional storms in their brains. They often struggle with depression, low energy, low self-esteem, pain symptoms, and they tend to gain weight in winter. Paul was a supervisor at Boeing near Seattle. Over time, he noticed, particularly in the winter, his weight would go up and his mood would go down. He also struggled with depression for many years. Paul's problem wasn't a lack of willpower, it was his brain. His SPECT scan showed too much activity in the limbic or emotional part of his brain, which is commonly seen in mood disorders and in people who have had emotional trauma. Of note, Paul also had a very low vitamin D level, which has been recently associated with weight problems. For this type, besides boosting vitamin D when it is low, exercise, fish oil, and certain supplements such as SAMe can be very helpful to balance the brain and improve your mood. It can also help with energy and decrease pain. Vitamin D and SAMe in combination were very helpful for Paul. Brain type 5 is the anxious overeater. People with this type medicate their feelings of anxiety with food. Connie felt nervous most of the time. She was always waiting for something bad to happen, and she frequently suffered from headaches and stomach problems. Marijuana helped to relax her, but she hated doing something illegal. Food worked really well to calm her down, but being 5'2" and 165 pounds made her very unhappy. Connie's SPECT study showed too much activity in an area of the brain called the basal ganglia. This part of the brain is involved in setting a person's anxiety level. When there's too much activity here, due to low levels of a chemical called GABA, people often have a lot of anxiety and a lot of physical tension. For Connie, no diet would help her lose weight until her brain was better. By soothing Connie's brain with meditation and hypnosis, plus using a combination of B6, magnesium, and GABA, she felt more relaxed and stopped overeating. She lost 20 pounds over the next year without trying and noticed a big boost in her energy. It's common to have more than one brain type. If that is true for you, work on the most bothersome brain type first and then go on to the others. I talk about this at great length in the program materials, plus there is a detailed self-test to help you determine your own brain type with specific suggestions on what to do. Okay, we've now talked about the first 3 essential steps to getting and keeping the brain and the body you've always wanted. Boost your brain to lose your belly. Know your motivation, know your brain type. Step number 4, use brain-specific supplements to boost your body. According to recent studies, 91% of Americans do not eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, the minimum required to get the nutrition you need. I recommend that all of my patients take a good multiple vitamin every day, plus an omega-3 fatty acid supplement. And if weight is an issue for you, there are supplements that can help with cravings, more on this in a bit, and ones that may benefit your specific type of brain, as we have seen. The thoughtful use of supplements is an essential part of a healthy brain plan. For example, according to researchers from the Harvard School of Public Health, having low levels of omega-3 fatty acids is one of the leading preventable causes of death and has been associated with heart disease, strokes, depression, suicidal behavior, ADD, dementia, and obesity. Taking fish oil, a good source of omega-3s, has been found to be good for your heart, your skin, your eyes, your joints, your hair, and your brain. In a recent study, taking omega-3s has also been found to decrease your appetite and your cravings. My recommendations for most adults is to take between 1 to 2 grams of high-quality fish oil a day. When we put our retired football players on our fish oil supplements, many of them were able to decrease or completely eliminate their pain medications. Another critical supplement is vitamin D. Low levels of vitamin D have been associated with depression, Alzheimer's disease, MS, diabetes, cancer, and obesity. When you don't have enough vitamin D, you feel hungry all the time, no matter how much you eat. Typically, we get a vitamin D boost from the sun. But because we are wearing more sunscreen and spending more time inside in front of our computers, our levels are falling and our health is at greater risk. And it is an easy fix. Have your doctor order a test called 25-hydroxyvitamin D and take vitamin D3 if your levels are low. When I tested my own level, it was very low, and I live in Southern California. I'm convinced that boosting my vitamin D level was critical in helping me get control of my cravings and my weight. Of course, supplements will never work by themselves if you eat too much or do not exercise. To be smart, you have to do the whole program, including knowing your brain type. There is much more on the thoughtful use of supplements in the program materials. Step number 5, get your cravings under control. We've already talked about how fish oil and vitamin D can help your cravings. Here are 5 more ways brain science can help. 1, keep your blood sugar balanced. Low blood sugar levels are associated with lower overall brain activity. Lower overall brain activity means more cravings and more bad decisions. The supplements alpha-lipoic acid and chromium have very good scientific evidence that they help balance blood sugar levels and can help with cravings. In addition, eat breakfast. People who maintain weight loss eat a nutritious breakfast, have smaller meals throughout the day, and stay away from simple sugars and refined carbohydrates, such as candy, sodas, cookies, crackers, white rice, and white bread. As I said in the last segment, high sugar, high fat foods work on the addiction centers of your brain. When I finally got this idea through my own thick skull, it made a huge difference for me. I love living without cravings. But for years, I fought the idea of giving up sweets like candy or Rocky Road ice cream. I thought it was simply about calories in versus calories out. If I stayed within a certain calorie range, I would be fine. The problem was that eating the sugar activated my cravings and made it very hard for me to stay away from things that were bad for me. Sweets are mood foods for me. My grandfather was a candy maker, and my best memories growing up were standing at the stove next to him making fudge or making pralines. But my grandfather was also overweight and had 2 heart attacks that took him away from me way too early. I know that kicking the sugar habit isn't easy for many people. It is like kicking a drug, and it certainly wasn't easy for me. But I found that when I substituted brain-healthy fruit, like blueberries, bananas, and apples, the cravings completely went away. Have you ever known someone to eat too many bananas? For most people, it takes about 2 weeks of completely avoiding sugar for your cravings to go away. 2, if you really want to decrease your cravings, pay attention to me. Decrease the artificial sweeteners in your diet. We think of these sweeteners as free because they have no calories. But because they are up to 600 times sweeter than sugar, they may activate the appetite centers of your brain, making you crave even more food. Diet sodas are not the answer. The one natural, no-calorie sweetener I like is called stevia. 3, another very important way to decrease your cravings is to get yourself on a daily stress management program. Anything stressful can trigger certain hormones in the brain that activates your cravings, making you believe that you have to have the cinnamon roll. Meditation and hypnosis are wonderful stress management practices that can help boost your brain and decrease your stress and your weight. I will talk more about these in the next segment. 4, you have to outsmart those sneaky food triggers that try to sabotage you nearly everywhere you go. If you go to the mall, the airport, the ball game, you will see store after store and vendor after vendor selling things that will make you fat and unhappy. For example, whenever I went to the movies, I used to immediately think about getting a big tub of popcorn with lots of butter along with red licorice, until I actually thought about the saturated fat, sugar, and artificial dye that would be flooding my brain. Another trigger for me is going over my mom's house on holidays. She makes the most amazing pizzas. I could have 8 slices, but end up feeling stuffed and stupid. To control your cravings, you have to control your triggers. Know your vulnerable times and plan ahead. I take a snack with me when I go to the movies so that I'm not tempted by the popcorn and candy. And I eat a little something ahead of time before going over my mom's house on holidays so that my brain can choose to eat a slice or 2 of pizza without blowing the whole holiday season in one 30-minute feeding frenzy. 5, in the program materials, I also talk about how hidden food allergies can trigger cravings and make you fat. For example, did you know that wheat gluten and milk allergies can decrease blood flow in your brain and decrease your judgment? I also talk about a number of other exciting natural supplements in the program materials, such as N-acetylcysteine, which has been shown to help with compulsive behaviors and cravings. Step number 6, kill the ants that steal your happiness and make you fat. Being overweight is a thinking disorder, not just an eating disorder. ANT stands for automatic negative thoughts, the thoughts that come into your mind automatically and ruin your day. I think of these negative thoughts like ants that infest your psyche and ruin your body. You need to develop an internal anteater to patrol the streets of your mind and keep you away from the buffet. Most people don't know that thoughts lie. They lie a lot. And it is your uninvestigated thoughts that will kill you early. As I mentioned, many of our retired NFL players are obese when they first enter our study. One of my favorite players, Big Ed White from the Minnesota Vikings, weighed 365 pounds when I first met him. When I asked him about his weight, he told me that he had no control over his eating. That was his automatic response. I have no control. Is that true, I said? You really have no control over your eating? He paused, thought, and said, no, that really isn't true. I do have some control. Of course you do. You're Big Ed White, I said. But just by thinking that you have no control, you've just given yourself permission to eat anything you want at any time you want. Another obese player told me that he just didn't like any of the foods that were healthy for him. Is that really true? I said, you don't like any of them? I then showed him a list of our 50 best brain-healthy foods, and in fact, he liked about 60% of them. Another player told me that everyone in his family was overweight. It was just his genetics. Is that true, I said? This really doesn't have anything to do with how much you eat? Your genes are not your destiny. My genes, too, say I'm supposed to be fat. He then looked at me and said, that's a pretty lame excuse, isn't it? It is the little lies you tell yourself, like I have no control, or it is my genetics, that make you fat and steal your health. One of the most important steps in winning the battle of the bulge is to get control of your mind. Whenever you feel anxious, sad, obsessive, or out of control. Write down the automatic thoughts that are going through your mind. The act of writing them down helps to get them out of your head. Then ask yourself if the thoughts make sense, if they're really true. For example, if you hear yourself thinking, "I have no control," write that down. And then ask yourself, is it true? If someone held a gun to my head, would I still really have to eat that piece of French apple pie? You don't have to believe every stupid thought that goes through your brain. This method of challenging your thoughts to help your weight is backed by strong scientific evidence. Researchers found that people who were trained to talk back to their negative thoughts lost 17 pounds in 10 weeks and continued to lose weight over 18 months, proving this technique works long term. When we come back, I will go through the last 4 steps of the ways to get and keep the body and brain you've always wanted, including how choosing the right foods and hypnosis can make you smarter. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Does anybody want to be smarter? Yes. Thinner? Yes. Healthier into your 80s and 90s? Yes. Then you want to pay attention to me. Here is a quick review of the first 6 steps we've discussed so far. Number 1, boost your brain to lose your belly. 2, you have to know your motivation to get healthy. 3, know your brain type. One diet will never work for everyone. In fact, as we've seen, giving everyone the same plan can make many people worse. 4, we discussed how brain-specific supplements can help your body. 5, I gave you 5 ways to get your cravings under control. And 6, kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. Being overweight is a thinking disorder, not just an eating disorder. Step number 7, eat right to think right. Bill Cosby once wrote, "I am what I ate, and I'm frightened." The food you eat can destroy your health or be your best medicine. Here are the Amen Clinic's 7 rules for brain-healthy eating. Rule number 1, think high-quality calories in versus high-quality energy out. Don't let anyone tell you that calories don't count. They absolutely do. But it's not as simple as calories in versus calories out. I want you to think of eating mostly high-quality calories. 1 cinnamon roll can cost you 720 calories and drain your brain, while a 400-calorie salad made of spinach, salmon, blueberries, apples, walnuts, and red bell peppers will supercharge your energy and make you smarter. The research about calories is very clear. If you eat more calories than you need, you will be fatter, sicker, and less productive. In the famous rhesus monkey study, researchers followed a large group of monkeys for 20 years. One group ate all the food they wanted. The other group ate 30% less. The monkeys who ate anything they wanted were 3 times more likely to suffer from cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Plus, researchers saw significant shrinkage in important decision-making areas of their brains. You need to know how many calories a day you need to either maintain or lose weight. These calculators are included in the program materials. The average 50-year-old man needs about 2,200 calories a day to maintain his weight, while most women need about 1,800 calories. To lose a pound a week, eat 500 calories a day, less than you need. You also need to know how many calories a day you actually put into your body, just like you need to know how much money you spend. Overeating is the exact same thing as overspending. When you overeat, you bankrupt your brain and your body. If weight is a problem for you, keep a journal just like you keep a checkbook. Start the day with the number of calories you can spend and have a sense of where you are throughout the day. This one strategy made a huge difference for me. When I actually wrote down everything I ate for a month, it caused me to stop lying to myself about my calories. One of our players wrote that when he started counting his calories, it opened up a whole new world of self-abuse that he was completely unaware of. In the program materials, there's a great journal to help you get started. Plus, I show you how to cut your calories by 30% in one of my favorite sections called 100 Ways to Leave Your Blubber. Rule number 2, drink plenty of water and not too many of your calories. Your brain is 80% water. Anything that dehydrates it, such as too much caffeine or much alcohol, decreases your thinking and impairs your judgment. Make sure you get plenty of water every day. On a trip to New York City recently, I saw a poster that read, "Are you pouring on the pounds? Don't drink yourself fat." I thought it was brilliant. A recent study found that on average, Americans drink 450 calories a day, twice as many as we did 30 years ago. Just adding the extra 225 calories a day will put 23 pounds of fat a year on your body. And most people tend not to count the calories they drink. Did you know that some coffee drinks or some cocktails such as margaritas can cost you more than 700 calories? One simple strategy that can help you lose a lot of weight is to eliminate most of the calories you drink. My favorite drink is water mixed with a little lemon juice and a little bit of the natural sweetener stevia. It tastes like lemonade, so I feel like I'm spoiling myself, and it has virtually no calories. Rule number 3, eat high-quality lean protein throughout the day because it helps balance your blood sugar and provides the necessary building blocks for brain health. Great sources of protein include fish, skinless turkey or chicken, beans, raw nuts, and high-protein vegetables such as broccoli and spinach. Did you know that spinach is nearly 50% protein? I use it instead of lettuce on my sandwiches for a huge nutrition boost. Rule number 4, eat low-glycemic, high-fiber carbohydrates. This means eat carbohydrates that do not spike your blood sugar, that are also high in fiber, such as those found in whole grains, vegetables, and fruits such as blueberries and apples. Carbohydrates are not the enemy. They are essential to your life. Bad carbohydrates are the enemy. Carbohydrates that have been robbed of any nutritional value, such as simple sugars and refined carbohydrates. If you want to live without cravings, again, eliminate these completely from your diet. I like the old saying, the whiter the bread, the faster you're dead. Sugar is not your friend. Sugar increases inflammation in your body, increases erratic brain cell firing, and has been recently implicated in aggression. In a new study, children who were given sugar every day had a significantly higher risk for violence later in life. I do not agree with the people who say everything in moderation. Cocaine or arsenic in moderation is not a good idea. The less sugar in your life, the better your life will be. Rule number 5, focus your diet on healthy fats. Eliminate bad fats, such as all trans fats and most animal fat. Did you know that fat stores toxic materials? So when you eat animal fat, you are also eating anything toxic the animal ate. Yuck! Did you know that certain fats that are found in pizza, ice cream, and cheeseburgers fool the brain into ignoring the signals that you should be full? No wonder I used to always have 2 bowls of ice cream and 8 slices of pizza. Focus your diets on healthy fats, especially those that contain omega-3 fatty acids, found in foods like salmon, avocados, walnuts, and green leafy vegetables. High cholesterol levels are not good for your brain. A new study reports that people who had high cholesterol levels in their 40s had a higher risk of getting Alzheimer's disease in their 60s and 70s. The B vitamin niacin has very good scientific evidence it helps lower cholesterol. Avocados and garlic can help as well. But don't let your cholesterol levels go too low. Did you know that low cholesterol levels have been associated with both homicide and suicide? If I'm at a party and someone is bragging to me about their low cholesterol levels, I am always very nice to that person. Rule number 6, eat from the rainbow. This means put natural foods in your diet of many different colors, such as blueberries, pomegranates, yellow squash, and red bell peppers. This will boost the antioxidant levels in your body and help keep your brain young. Of course, this does not mean Skittles or jelly beans. Rule number 7, cook with brain-healthy herbs and spices to boost your brain. Here is a little food for thought. Literally, turmeric found in curry contains a chemical that has been shown to decrease the plaques in the brain thought to be responsible for Alzheimer's disease. In 3 studies, a saffron extract was found to be as effective as antidepressant medication in treating people with major depression. Sage has very good scientific evidence that it helps to boost memory. And cinnamon has been shown to help with attention. Plus, did you know that cinnamon is a natural aphrodisiac for men? Not that most men need much help. My wife makes an amazing sweet potato soup with slivered almonds, cranberries, cinnamon, and sage. It makes me smarter and more affectionate at the same time. Eating in a brain-healthy way is about abundance, not deprivation. It's about great taste and wise spending. Your attitude here is critical. If you think of it as a loss of lasagna, you will not stick with it. But when you think about eating right as a gain in energy, a gain in longevity, a gain in brain power, and a gain in time with your loved ones, you are much more likely to stay on track. So how do you put this all together? Let me tell you what I do. I have a whey protein and fruit shake for breakfast. I bring fresh-cut veggies to work as a morning snack. I usually have a 350-calorie chicken, avocado, and veggie sandwich on whole wheat with green tea for lunch. I have a piece of fruit and a few raw nuts as an afternoon snack. And for dinner, I will often have a large salad or soup, some form of protein, like ahi tuna, wild salmon, or turkey, and plenty of vegetables. For the salad, I always put the dressing on the side. Why? I want to be the one that controls the calories that go into my body. And I always have dessert, usually frozen blueberries with Greek yogurt. With this diet, I usually get 8 or 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, lower my risk for cancer, and it's about 1,700 calories. I have no cravings, which I truly love, and I feel great. And I know what you're thinking. And no, it is not boring. That is an ant, an automatic negative thought. What is boring is always losing out to my cravings. Being a failure every single day, that's boring and frustrating. Getting the right routine is one of the major ingredients of success in any area of your life, especially with getting and staying healthy. In the program materials, I will show you how to put this all together with the 50 best brain-healthy foods, nutritious recipes, a shopping guide, and food plans to help you master brain-healthy eating. Step number 8. To change your brain and your body, there are several critical health numbers that you must know and improve. Write these down. Know your body mass index, or BMI. This number basically gives you a good sense about your weight. A healthy BMI is between 18.5 and 25. More than 25 is overweight, and more than 30 is considered obese. You can find a BMI calculator on our website. Knowing your BMI can totally help break any denial you have about your weight. Most people actually think they are less fat than they really are. I was sitting at dinner recently with a friend who seemed totally indifferent about his weight problem, even though he was injecting himself with insulin for diabetes at the table. As we were talking, I calculated his BMI for him. Trust me, I can be a very irritating friend if I think you're not taking care of yourself. His BMI was just over 30 in the obese range. That really got his attention, and thankfully, he's now committed to getting healthy. As I mentioned, you need to know your calorie requirements and how many calories you actually eat a day. If you don't know the calories of something, don't eat it. Why are you going to allow someone else to sabotage your health? Ignorance is not bliss. It increases your chances for an early death. You need to learn to weigh and measure things and really look at the food labels for portion size. What the cereal companies think is a portion size may not be anywhere near what your eyes think. When you actually do this, I can promise you it will be a rude awakening. I know it was for me. Know the number of fruits and vegetables you eat a day? Count them. Eat more vegetables than fruit, and try to get that number to between 7 and 10 to lower your risk for cancer. Know the number of hours you sleep each night. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you only need a few hours of sleep. I used to think I was special because I could get by on 4 or 5 hours of sleep at night until I actually read the research. Then I realized I was just dumb. Getting less than 7 hours of sleep at night is associated with lower overall blood flow to your brain, more cravings, and more fat on your body. No wonder I had trouble losing the extra 20 pounds. Strive to get 7 or better 8 hours of sleep every night. As I mentioned in the last segment, you need to know your vitamin D level. In the program materials, I also talk about how important it is to know your inflammation markers like C-reactive protein. Inflammation occurs when tissues become swollen and damaged and is associated with many bad things, such as wrinkled skin, heart disease, diabetes, and even Alzheimer's disease. Too much fat on your body has been shown to increase inflammation. Fish oil, calorie restriction, and a baby aspirin can all help decrease inflammation. Know your hormone levels. If your hormones are off, nothing will work. When my wife Tana had thyroid cancer, she had a horrifying weight gain despite eating virtually nothing. Get your hormone levels tested regularly, including your thyroid hormones, cortisol, and DHEA. Taking DHEA has been found to be helpful for weight loss and depression, but get your levels tested first. Low testosterone levels for men or for women has been associated with depression, obesity, low libido, low energy, and Alzheimer's disease. Low progesterone levels have been associated with anxiety and insomnia and can contribute to anxious overeating. Low estrogen levels in women, especially during and after menopause, are associated with an increase in belly fat and memory problems. According to research from Columbia University, taking an estrogen cream helped to reduce both weight and inflammation. Obviously, you should know your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, and your blood sugar. A problem in any of these numbers increases your risk for Alzheimer's disease. In the program materials, our journal goes through each of these numbers in great detail, charts them for you, and I also tell you how to talk to your doctor about them. When you balance your important health numbers, your brain is better. You make better decisions, and it's so much easier to get to the weight you want. Step number 9. Hypnosis and meditation can boost your brain. There is very good scientific evidence that when you add hypnosis or meditation to a healthy weight loss program, you improve the outcome, and it is easy. For those of you with a busy mind like mine, both hypnosis and meditation can calm your thoughts and increase your sense of control. In one study that we performed at the Amen Clinics, sponsored by the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, we found that a very simple 12-minute meditation boosted blood flow to the front part of your brain, which enhances judgment and decision-making. Likewise, I've found few things as immediately powerful as hypnosis to change behavior and help understand the emotional reasons for overeating. Laura came to see me for being overweight. She had struggled with weight her whole adult life, but as a teenager, she was thin. In a hypnotic trance, we uncovered that she had been assaulted as a young woman, and she overate unconsciously as a way to protect herself. When I helped her heal the trauma, it was much easier for her to lose weight. If you've had emotional trauma, hypnosis, meditation, and psychotherapy can be very helpful. A set of hypnosis CDs and meditation exercises are included in the program materials. Step number 10, start today. The day my grandfather died was the worst day of my life. The joy I felt from his love and the sadness I felt from losing him caused me to constantly ask myself 2 questions over the last 30 years. 1, how can I love other people like he loved me? Isn't that really what life's about? Being loving, being connected, being useful, being helpful. And 2, how can I take better care of myself so that I can love my family and do the work I love for as long as possible despite my genes? In Change Your Brain, Change Your Body, I give you all the tools you need, step by step, to have a better brain and a better body for as long as possible starting today. Pass this information on. Our society is going the wrong way. We are not only fatter than ever before in our history, but some experts believe that my grandson Elias's generation will be the first one that is not likely to outlive their parents unless there are dramatic changes in our society. Is that what you want for your children or your grandchildren? Not me. We can do better, but it must start with you today, not tomorrow, which is something you've been telling yourself for decades. Today. I want to tell you again about the study from the University of Pittsburgh, but this time in a little more detail. Researchers found that the brains of overweight people who had a BMI between 25 and 30, mine used to be 28, people who were overweight had 4% less brain tissue, which means 4 billion less cells, and their brains looked 8 years older than healthy people. People who were obese, people who had a BMI over 30, had 8% less brain tissue, which means 8 billion less brain cells, and their brains looked 16 years older than healthy people. Without a healthy brain, nothing in your life is as good as it can be. Not your relationships, not your work, not your money, not your energy, not your memory, nothing. Today is the day to get serious about brain health, not tomorrow. Today is the day to stop being in denial about your weight and your addiction to unhealthy food. Not tomorrow. Today is the day to really start influencing the health of those you love, not tomorrow. Take action now, and together we can change the world. May God bless you. I'm Dr. Dan Millman.